Well, let's get straight to a very concerning story on the front page of the Daily Telegraph today. Chinese hackers came within minutes of shutting down power to up to 3 million Australian homes last month. Now, if they can do that in peacetime, what are they capable of in a war? Joining me now is Daily Telegraph federal political reporter and co-host of Outsiders here on Sky News, James Morrow. James, how did they get that close?
Well, we've known for a long time, Chris, that the number of attempted penetrations of Australian critical infrastructure has been increasing for some time now, both by, and it's important to note this, both by criminal gangs who are simply looking for ransomware attempts to carve money out of a company to get their systems back, and also by state actors, primarily China, but also Russia and some others, that are looking for ways to penetrate our vulnerabilities, with the theory being that come some future conflict, they would be able to turn off utilities, electricity, water, food distribution, and send the country into chaos, and so that we would not be able to respond to something such as, the invasion of Taiwan. It's important to note that what happened here, we believe it came from China. It happened actually on November 27th. It's not clear whether it was state actors or ransomware hackers, but also intelligence people I've spoken to say there is a fine line between those two groups, and often not as much distinction as you would think.
You'd have to also presume that ransomware hackers would have more ability to achieve their goals by getting into a commercial entity or an agency, but more the commercial entity as opposed to a power station. It looks awfully like a dry run for what might happen down the track.
Well, the really interesting thing about this is that they appear to have come in through the general sort of corporate systems of the company and were tunneling their way towards the actual power generation arm of the company. I am told that they were within 50 minutes of those two basically linking up and the hackers being able to get into and potentially affect the company's ability to generate power. They generate, they have a portfolio of power of around 3,500 megawatts, which, as you said before, is the equivalent to the power required to keep the lights on in as many as 3 million homes. So that's where those figures come from. It's very interesting that they did it that way. Of course, on ransomware, we have also seen cases where there has been straight ransomware. I'm thinking of the Colonial Pipeline in the United States earlier this year, when Russian hackers did indeed hold that company to ransom for quite a bit of cyber currency, cryptocurrency, which apparently was eventually recovered by the FBI. But there are people out there who will say, we're going to get into your pipeline, we'll get into your generators, we just simply want cash. But the more sinister thing, and a joint parliamentary committee on this has found, that there are real attempts out there being made to be able to take Australian critical infrastructure offline in a crisis to prevent our ability to act.
I was looking for some detail on this today, and in 2020-21, the government cyber threat report found a 15% increase in ransomware attacks from the previous year, with a cyber attack occurring every 8 minutes. Are we sitting ducks? Are we appallingly insecure, James? Or is it just too easy to hack in?
Well, look, Chris, there is some good news about this. I mean, the good news is that apparently the Australian government, and people are pretty tight-lipped about how all of this went down for fairly obvious reasons. But it is my understanding that and I believe the PM made reference to this morning, that the Australian government stepped in, helped this company fight off these attackers from China, we believe from China. And we had a relatively happy ending. Of course, when I was speaking to people at the company yesterday, including the media person, they said, look, if you need to get me, just call me, text me, don't email me, because we don't have email, we don't have computers anymore at the moment, which just goes to show, just think about in a big organization how costly even just that is. But there is good news. There's legislation that is also going to empower the government to help companies fight these attacks in the future. So it is not all a dark cloud.